individuals outside of government agencies, including representatives from business, labor unions, nonprofits, funders, and other types of organizations charged with recommending citywide goals, devising a framework for evaluating public investments, and making recommendations for improving employment outcomes for New Yorkers, including older workers. Through Executive Order 22, Mayor Adams established the Interagency Talent and Workforce Development Cabinet, commonly known as the Talent Cabinet. This body, comprised of representatives from over 40 agencies, city agencies, have a stake in talent and workforce development efforts and have been meeting monthly since November 2022 and is coordinated by New York City Talent. Some other partnerships to highlight include our partnership with AmeriCorps Seniors, a federally funded partner who supported the launch of SilverCorps. New York City Aging was selected as one out of 2 workforce development senior demonstration program grantees in the country. This pilot serves as a precursor to national federal funding opportunities for the AmeriCorps Seniors Workforce Development Senior Demonstration Program to support older workers. New York City Aging has worked to cultivate public-private partnerships to serve older workers and establish training and career pathways. We work with a number of local and regional employer partners to understand their business needs and help fill them. New York City Aging ultimately helps to facilitate linkages between older workers seeking employment and employers seeking talent. Bless you. Conclusion, as you can see, there are many opportunities provided through programs run by New York City Aging, which serve to support the workforce needs and skill development and matching of older adults to career opportunities. We remain committed to further cultivating the necessary supports that older adults need. While these programs have seen successful outcomes in training older adults and placing them in long-term employment, we are still working to combat the effects of the pandemic and the continual presence of ageism in the workforce. Thank you again for the opportunity to discuss this with you today, and I am here to address any workforce program questions that you might have.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Before I get into my prepared questions, I have a couple questions from your testimony, if I may. You mentioned with the CSEP, is that how you said it? Okay. That Manhattan and Brooklyn are oversubscribed,
Yes.
but Queens and the Bronx are not quite?
We're almost at capacity.
Almost at capacity. And then what about Staten Island?
We do have slots in Staten Island, which is our smallest number of borough slots, but
you have capacity available there too?
Yes, we do.
Okay. For Reserve and Silver Stars, I'm curious to know if there are any specific eligibility requirements.
Yes.
Other than for Silver Stars, I know former city employee, but any household income or anything like that?
No.
Okay,
So
open to everyone.
So for Silver Stars, you have to be a retired city employee on pension, as well as have exhausted your sick and vacation leave balances. In terms of Reserve, and Reserve is our youngest eligibility, with an eligibility of 50 and older, and there are not specific income requirements connected to that program.
Okay, thank you. And then for the foster grandparent programs, is there a compensation or not?
Yes, there is.
Oh.
There's a stipend of $4 an hour as well, which is the agreement we have with AmeriCorps, who funds and oversees the program, which we've had for about 50 years. Mm-hmm. And there's also travel allowance.
Okay, so, I mean, just forgive me, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you have to be at or below 200% of the poverty level, which means that you're low income,
Yes.
and you're getting paid $4 an hour
Right.
to, okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure
no,
I'm
those are great.
I'm hearing this
Completely
correctly.
understandable questions. It's really a volunteer-based stipend program, as we often think of the AmeriCorps landscape in general. I will say, despite what you just said, which is all accurate, we have many participants who've been in this program for many, many years. So it is an opportunity to make a small subsidy and to really impact the lives of children, which is so meaningful for so many of our participants that they often stay involved for 20 years, 30 years, and
Okay.
so on.
Do you know what the rationale is for the income restriction then? I know you said it was, well, no, I think that's for a different program. What is the rationale for the income restriction for the foster grandparent program?
This is all dictated by our funder, AmeriCorps.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure. Because I know AmeriCorps is also for Silver Corps.
Right.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Can you describe any interagency collaboration related to workforce development programming and support available to older New Yorkers? I know you had a bit of that in your testimony.
Yes. So a few things to highlight: the Cabinet for Older New Yorkers, which I know we've talked about, and some of our partnerships there is one example of opportunities to collaborate as a city to continue to drive opportunities. We also have a close collaboration with Workforce One and the Career Center, as well as working with New York City Talent. And that's one way to look at it in terms of innovation, program development, collaboration. Another way to think about it is where do we place older adults? And in that case, just a few things to highlight for you. We work with borough presidents' offices, Department of Finance, Department of Youth and Community Development, New York City Health and Hospitals. We work with the CUNY network to support training opportunities for older adults. And then, of course, when we talk about programs like Silver Stars and Reserve, our placements are in city agencies, and we have a number of city partners who employ our older adults.
Thank you. And can you please detail the ways in which the city's PEGs will impact workforce programming for older adults?
Thank you. So, of course, our priority is continuity of care and to support the programming and needs of older adults. Needs always outpace existing resources. That said, most of our programs, if we walk through or look at the funding, are federally funded. So I think we're overall, foster grandparents, Silver Corps, CSAP, all are reliant on federal funding. There is some CTL match, but most of what we're talking about are those federal funds.
Great. So those programs are safe.
We have no information today to indicate that there's a current impact. I mean, of course, as you know, there will be budget hearings in the winter and spring, to further talk about the impact of the city budget.
Okay, thank you. Can you please describe how older New Yorkers may seek information related to aging discrimination in the workplace?
Yes, we do a number of work with our city partners to make sure that older adults are aware of ageism as part of the work we do through all of our older adult employment programs, and as well as their rights. So one of our partners is Human Rights, and we do a lot of training and support with them in English and in Spanish.
And is there a hotline for folks to get information about older adult workforce programs?
So it's the same pathway, one door to all of our older adult programs, including older adult workforce. So one is 311 and another is New York City Aging Connect. So in fact, it's a pretty common call that we get to that hotline. And then from there, you'd be routed to the workforce team, and they would talk to you about who you are, your needs and interests, and so on. And then from there, they'll figure out, which of the menu of programs is the best match.
Okay, thank you. And then just going back to my last question, I think we established, although you unofficially, that the programs that are federally funded are safe, at least for now. What about staffing for those programs? Is the staffing federally funded?
The staffing, so overall, just to walk through the numbers with you for 1 second.
Yeah.
What I have in front of me right here is fiscal year 22, 23, 24, and I think this was helpful to my thinking. Funding in fiscal year 22, which is largely federally funded, there is a CTL match. In 22, it was, and I'm rounding, 6.6 million. In 23, because of our excellent performance on these programs, we've received increased federal funding, and now in 23, we're up to 9.3 million, rounding. And then in the current year, we're up to 11 million. So what you'll see in terms of our relationship with our federal funder is our performance has driven increased funding in the years. I mean, can I tell you with absolute certainty what's going to happen in the out years? No, but this is the pattern we've observed so far, and
But
again,
that funding, though, includes staffing for the programs, or, yes?
yes.
Okay.
So the vast majority of our internal staff are budgeted through these grants.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. While the number and proportion of older adults in New York City is growing fast, the number of older adults of color and immigrant older adults is growing even faster. And while the city's older adult population as a whole faces economic challenges, poverty, joblessness, limited income, and outdated skills that threaten their chances of secure retirement and aging in place with dignity, Black workers ages 51 to 64 are the least likely among all racial and ethnic groups to have a retirement account, according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office. And immigrant older adults who have minimal access to financial safety nets are among the poorest in New York State. In what ways is NYC Aging working to better serve older adults of color and immigrant older adults?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think just to take a step back, retirement is a three-legged stool, which relies on Social Security, savings, and pensions. We all know since the 80s we've seen a decrease in pensions, which really drive people for greater economic need, including work later in life. So some of the, as we look at poverty, as well as we look at the changing demographics of older adults in New York City, our programs reflect exactly that. So just to walk through this quickly with you, the vast majority of our participants are women, 74% compared to 26% of men. The vast majority of our participants are Black, 48% are Black, 27% Hispanic, Latino, 13% are white, 12% of Asian. Also, we can talk about other factors, but a couple other things to highlight for you. 22% of our program participants are English as a second language learner, something we work and tie into our programs in terms of supporting to drive job readiness. So we're always committed to supporting the diversity of older New Yorkers, and our programs know the cultural needs of those that we serve.
Thank you for that. Those are great numbers. Glad to know that the participants are so incredibly diverse. You mentioned one of the programs was available in English and Spanish. Are all of the programs available in languages other than English?
So our staff are diverse and speak a variety of languages, which we think is essential to delivering multicultural, linguistically appropriate services. Also, as we talk about things like outreach, we know we need multilingual outreach materials, as well as to leverage resources like multicultural ethnic media and TV and so on to reach the clients that we are, who represent this diverse population.
Thank you. And then just going back to the statistics you shared, have those numbers increased, decreased, remained the same over the last couple of fiscal years, to your knowledge?
I don't have that right in front of me. We could certainly circle back to you.
I'd just be curious to know which populations have increased in your participants. Do NYC Aging Workforce Development Programs do any targeted outreach to older adults of color or immigrant older adults?
Yes. First at the highest level, it's our goal to make sure that the older adults of New York City know who we are and what we do. As you know, we have a variety of programs and services, so we're always looking to partner with elected officials, with community boards, with business improvement districts to get the word out there. We're constantly thinking about how to do that and how to spread the word, how to be linguistically appropriate. And some examples, we have a strong presence in the community through over 100 community partnerships, and have presence online also, which detail the variety of workforce programs we have, and then reminds everybody how they can reach us through Aging Connect and 311. We also connect, we support job fairs. We're out there as much as possible, and we also focus very particularly on historically underserved communities. So some of the recent events where we've had hundreds of participants, one was with PSS in the Bronx, and then another was with the YMCA in Flushing, again, with the exact intention that I think your question evokes about how do we reach communities that are sometimes being left behind.
Thank you. How do eligible New Yorkers learn about the Older Adult Employment Program? I guess.
Yes, it's really through the efforts that I just described.
Right.
So the ongoing community outreach, we need our foot on the ground as often as possible. And a couple of other things to highlight in addition to that, feet on the ground outreach in community and being culturally and linguistically informed. We've also had some spectacular press. A couple of things to highlight. Recently, the Silver Corps program was highlighted on CBS News, featuring our commissioner, Lorraine Cortez Vasquez, was also interviewed for New York One about aging in the workplace. And probably intuitively, when we get these big media events, it drives a lot of interest and connection to our program.
That's great. Specifically about the Older Adult Employment Program, your website says, quote, that one must, quote, commit to actively seeking employment, end quote. What does that mean exactly?
Yes, that means, so it's a stipended program. So with the ultimate goal of moving you towards permanent employment,
right,
which, the nomenclature we use is unsubsidized employment. So the idea is when you're in our program, we're going to work with you. We're going to meet you where you're at. Of course, we're working with people, often, women, for example, who are caregivers for years outside of the workforce. So there is a lot of how to prepare for an interview, how to write a resume, how to skill up. And then, of course, we all came into this technical error with, in different places and different starting points. So it's starting where the person is, upskilling from there, while receiving a stipend. But the goal is to move you towards permanent employment. So you have to be actively participating in job search activities as we work with you to skill up.
There isn't like a time limit or anything?
Yeah, there are some time limits on the program. Just a moment. So they're working 20 hours a week, 15, 20 hours a week, and skilling up. They're typically, okay, there is the time limits, and again, this is dictated, if you will, by our federal funder, which requires a program duration no more than 48 months. And then a particularity is they gave a 12-month extension to participants who were active during the pandemic in 2020 because of some of the complexities there.
Okay. And another eligibility requirement is to have a family income of no more than 125% of the federal poverty level. How much is that in actual dollars, do you know?
Yes, I do, and it's a low income. So participants, 125% or below of the federal poverty level amounts to roughly $18,225 a year for somebody living on their own. For a household of 4 people, this amounts to no more than $37,500. And again, you can see this is a very low income and is a requirement of the funder.
Thank you. How many New Yorkers has the Older Adult Employment Program served this year? And if you have it also over the past 3 years, 5 years?
Absolutely, and I'm happy to talk about that. So let me get those numbers. I can tell you right away that in the current, last year in 23, we served over 800, we served over 800 participants. I'll start with fiscal year 22 if that's okay, so we could see the pattern. So in fiscal year 22, we, across all programs, the ones that we walked through, we served 564 participants. In fiscal year 23, we exceeded 800. And in the current fiscal year 24, we ran the data through end of November. So clearly we're still in the year. We're just about at 700. So again, similar to what we talked about with the federal funding and those increases over the years, that's what you see here as well.
Thank you. Are you able to disaggregate New Yorkers served by age, gender, borough of residence, disability status, race, ethnicity, or any other demographic buckets?
Yes, so we talked about some of that. So I'm gonna highlight, unless you want me to go back, some things perhaps that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, just the ones that you haven't mentioned already.
So I'm not sure if I mentioned, I think this is quite compelling, 74% are women and 26 men. In terms of age, the average age is 65, but 63% are under 75. And just to pause there for a second, while we talk about averages, of course, there's a range, and our oldest participant is almost 90, so just to give you a sense of that. In terms of educational attainment, 22% have a bachelor or graduate degree, 9% have some college education, and almost half have a high school diploma or GED. About 20% have less than a high school education, 22% are English as a second language, and then if you'd like kind of a geographic flavor, 33% live in the Bronx, 26% in Brooklyn, 23% in Queens, 16% in Manhattan, and 2% in Staten Island.
And for the average age, is that trending up or down? Do you know? Are people coming in and participating in these programs? Are they getting older, or is the average age skewing younger?
I don't have those trends in front of me. So, as I mentioned, the average age is 65, but I do think it's really important when you talk about averages that on the young side, a reservist could be in her early 50s, and on the older side, we have participants that are close to 90. We can certainly get back to you with a 3-year trend line.
That would be great. Thank you. And at what rate do program participants secure employment? Does NYC Aging track the employment status of program participants? And if so, how long do you track that for?
So some things to highlight, our priority is always to move people towards permanent employment. Again, there are different starting points. I can talk about the data, but I can't talk about it with complete certainty, because what we know is those participants that we're engaged with that stay with us, meaning they don't move, they don't pass away, there's not some unforeseen event that would disrupt the program. There are definitely participants that begin with us, they skill up, they get the experience, and then we'll go find a job on their own. So it really is a mix. Of those in the CSEP program, it's about, again, our data with all those limitations and imperfections I just named, it's about a quarter that move to permanent employment. And then it works differently with some of the Silver Corps is too new to even be able to answer that question. Look forward to having conversations in the future, but we're pretty early into the program, so we're not there yet to look at that data. And then, of course, Reserve and Silver Stars, it has a different aim to it, and when I say that, people are coming in with different interests. So a reservist, is someone who's looking for part-time project-based work, and similar with the Silver Star, it's really about part-time project-based work, and this is what the participant is looking for.
Do program participants have the option of reaching out to program administrators or staff for guidance upon employment? So are there, further resources for them once they've found employment?
We do a lot with the participants on a lot of different levels. So one facet is to talk about training and upskilling, which is a huge part of the work, is doing a career map journey with the participant to see, who are you, what is your interest, what drives you, and to upskill in those ways. And then, as we talked a little bit about, some of it is also preparing for interviews. Again, we have participants who've been out of the workforce for a really long time. So how to do a job search, how to show up at a career fair, resume, interviewing skills. Participants are also assigned a job developer who provides ongoing support. And then our participants, as you see, are typically low-income people who also have other needs that may need to be addressed, which could be anything: food insecurity, case management, mental health, anything. As with any New Yorker. And so we also have a component to support them with those casework needs if it's relevant to the participant, and link them with our network of services or through some of the services we directly support to make sure that we're doing everything we can to partner with them so they're positioned for success and permanent employment if that's what they are seeking.
Thank you. What metrics does NYC Aging use to determine efficacy of the program?
A number
How do you
of-
measure success?
I'm sorry? I
How
didn't
do you
hear.
measure success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, in a variety of ways. So we, we certainly look at at some of what we talked about, right? How many people are we serving, a basic output, and how that relates to our funding. So, we talked about two measures that I think are inherently connected, which is we're serving more and more people, and we're getting more and more funding, which are both kind of intertwined in different ways. And then we look exactly to your question, Chair, what is the move to permanent placement? And then the client experience, the participant experience of us, and what does that do to the person's well-being and confidence and job
You survey them?
we have in the past done some satisfaction with them, and they also have their job development specialists connected directly to them through that one-on-one relationship to provide direct feedback on their needs and anything we could do to better assist them.
How often are eligible New Yorkers admitted to the program? So is there like a schedule? Can anyone start at any time? Is there like a calendar,
So again, we're talking about a few different programs. I mean, I guess my short answer is anyone can start at any time. I mean,
Okay.
for a foster grandparent, if you're placed in school, it's certainly advantageous for you to start right
at the beginning of the school year?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that would be something particular. And in terms of CSAP, it's really, it is rolling enrollment. That said, we are somewhat limited. We are limited by the available slots we have in each of the boroughs. And then for Silver Stars and Reserve, anyone's welcome anytime.
Can you just, do you know how many slots are available in those boroughs that you mentioned before for the CSEP? For the Bronx and Queens and Staten Island, do you have how many slots you have available?
Yes. Just give me a moment. And in Staten Island, it's a very small number of slots. So
Total, you mean?
Oh, total at the onset of the year.
No. I'm asking for the available slots, but are you saying the total number of slots available in Staten Island is a
It's
small number?
small. So I believe we have 8 remaining in
8,
Staten
okay.
Island, and then as we talked about before, in Manhattan and Brooklyn there are none.
Yeah.
And we can get back to you with the specific numbers in Bronx and Queens, and
Okay.
it's very low. We're almost at capacity.
Okay. I visit older adult centers all the time, and, if I'm in a particular borough and I know there are a couple of slots and somebody's interested, then I'd love to send them your way.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to I'm happy to take you up on that. Not so much with CSAP, which we're almost at 100%, but in terms of our newest program, Silver Core, which we don't have the same kind of constraints by borough.
Yeah.
And we are looking to bring more people in. It's a different type of program. Following the AmeriCorps model, it's a service to work model. So there is a period of volunteering, and you'll get a stipend if you meet the income threshold that we
Right.
talked about earlier, but otherwise it is a service
Volunteer.
to work model.
Okay. According to NYC Aging's website, program participants can secure employment in a variety of areas, including administration, human and social services, customer service, health sector, security, home care, food services, and other professional opportunities, as you mentioned. How does the program identify and work with potential employers?
So we're always doing employer outreach to bring more employers in. One example of that is we've done a number of employer roundtables, to bring in a different private sector. Of course, we do a lot of outreach with city agencies connected to some of our other programs, and we do that in a variety of ways. We do that through the citywide HR meetings, citywide fiscal meetings, and then outreach to particular hiring managers. And then, of course, within our own network, which we have hundreds of providers in the aging network, we're always talking to them. So some very recent examples, in addition to some of the things we talked about earlier with YMCA and PSS and the bids and just pushing that message out there. The workforce team and leadership come to our case management meetings. They come to our older adult center meetings. They go out to the older adult centers. And we're always looking for opportunities to do those matches. And we have placements at hundreds of agencies. We hear often that the nonprofit sector has staffing challenges. So whenever we're talking to our providers, which of course is all the time, we're encouraging opportunities to connect and think about leveraging the experience, wisdom of our older adult workforce and cultivating those multi-generational workforce environments, really capitalizing on the emotional intelligence and maturity and skill set of our older workers. And we've had a lot of success with that. And again, I think you have to repeat the message again and again and again, which we're always looking to do and create more opportunities.
Thank you. And do you have how many program participants have been employed in the different areas listed, like the breakdown over the last few years?
So most of them are office administrative work in terms of getting you an actual, although it really does run the gamut and it varies depending on the programs, as we talked about. And we certainly have people in food and customer service and in home care and early childhood, just as a few examples. But in terms of like the particular breakdown by program and which industry, we could certainly circle back to.
Okay, that would be great. And then how much are participants generally paid upon employment? At what rate are they paid? And are these largely minimum wage jobs, would you say?
It is higher than minimum wage. I believe it's $21 an hour.
Thank you. NYC Aging's website also says that program participants are assigned an internship at a nonprofit to train and build their skills. Are all participants assigned an internship?
No, what that reads like is Silver Corps. So that is that service to work model that is promoted through AmeriCorps.
So they're only paid if they meet the threshold?
Exactly. Yes.
And is there any indication whether those internships could lead to full or part-time employment?
Well, the program is very new, but we can say based on experience, somewhat similar experience with other programs, for example, CSAP, participant placements in our nonprofit, which is a very common story, that often it does lead to permanent placement. So it is an opportunity to kind of soft launch into employment with wraparound supports as you get reacquainted to being back in the workforce and what that feels like, and then maybe even to try something different, right? So in the past you were a bookkeeper and now you're doing casework at a nonprofit. It's a way to ease into that, feel if this is the job that you want, and then ultimately to see if it's the right fit and if that particular agency has an opening. Otherwise, now certainly you're much more marketable and employable at any agency that has that type of job opportunity.
And then do you consider any remote work opportunities or think about homebound older adults who might also want to, take advantage of workforce programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. In this case, it's really about the needs of the employer, and I will say that, and I think this is intuitive. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to move everything remotely, including the foster grandparent program. So there was a lot of pivoting and upskilling around technology. And in general, of course, there are exceptions. Our older workers really want to come to a job, and I think a lot of that is it's not just an income, it's an opportunity to connect and be a part of something. And I think, for some people, the technology is always a little bit uncomfortable and feels differently. One thing we definitely prioritize is travel burden and looking for opportunities to find matches, employment, including training and so on, that's fairly close to where you live, to limit some of those burdens. But certainly employers that have virtual opportunities, that is, those are all possibilities in our menu of placements.
Thank you. And you mentioned this earlier, but according to the website, program participants can attend classes on digital and financial literacy, customer service, job search techniques, resume writing, job interview preparation, as well as job fairs, workshops, and meet with potential employers as they look to secure permanent employment. Are those classes mandatory for program participants? Or just available to them?
It really depends. So it begins with your career map journey and seeing who you are, where your starting point is, where you want to go. So depending on that, we're going to adapt the trainings to be particular to your particular journey to employment.
But they're not mandatory.
No, I will say in general, CSEP does require 4 weeks of training and upskilling, and foster grandparent program requires 20 hours a week, and it's pretty common that as so many of our older adult workers want to be in office administrative type of settings, the technical skills training is generally pretty essential. And it's also a good opportunity too, even outside of the workforce, and we've talked about this in other settings, to upskill technology as a tool for connection, whether it's with the broader world or with your grandkids. So definitely there are opportunities to skill more broadly.
Thank you. So with regards to those classes, how many are offered annually and to how many participants?
So we have such a variety of trainings that we do directly as well as through our training partners. So I think I could get back
that actually leads me to my next question, which is, are the classes contracted out, and who teaches them?
It's a mix. So we have a lot where we're based in Lower Manhattan. We have a floor that in the building that the older adult workforce team is on, and we provide a lot of direct training and have, I think, pretty beautiful facilities to do tech training and things on site.
Are those classes remotely accessible?
They're on site. However, to your question, let's say you live in Far Rockaway or something that you would assume would be a big burden to get to Lower Manhattan, then we're gonna link you with a training partner much closer to your home, assuming that's what you want.
For an in-person participation?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, and then do you know how many classes are offered annually, and to how many participants?
We could get back to you, but I think the important thing is really to go back a step about the numbers we talked about earlier, and the numbers that are enrolled in our program. You know, the current, so right now, we're working with, you know, we have worked with about 700 people in the current fiscal year, and most of them are going to receive some sort of training.
One of those classes? One of those classes, you're saying? Okay.
Yes, most of them. I mean, you know, there might be a couple of outliers with, let's say, a reservist, for example. You're a retired accountant, you're coming into health, so I mean that might look a little bit different.
Right. Okay. Are the job fairs and workshops you mentioned sponsored by NYC Aging, or are those like run directly through a partner, or?
The job fairs?
Job fairs,
No,
yeah.
they're typically run through outside partners, and then we're coming. So one example might be, I'm sure you're aware that the city has promoted a lot of different job fairs to address the needs of the city workforce. So we would push into those spaces.
I see.
As well as market them to our older adults.
Do you have a sense of how many job fairs the typical program participant attends?
I could get back to you on that.
Or how frequently so you mentioned the city's job fairs, right? Which I think, I don't know, just from my recollection earlier this year and maybe last year, there were like a few a year or something. If you're plugging into those and there aren't any additional, assuming there aren't any additional ones, do you think the average participant is going to all of those job fairs? Are they going to one job fair? Is it based on, you know, just anecdotally, do you think it's based on like location and things like that, or?
It's so that's not how most of our placements are made. So the job fairs are part of a menu of things we could offer to our participants. But overall, it's happening much more commonly through a matching process. So on this side, we know all the jobs that we have. We have some home care, some early childhood, some customer service, some administrative, and in a variety of settings. And then over here, we have the participants who need to be placed. So
see.
we're looking at a variety.
You're working within an established system already, where you have your employment partners, you know the jobs that they're offering, and then you have your participants.
Generally,
Okay.
yes. And then as talked about before, and how that lines up with where you live and so on. But that said, you know, we want to have the largest menu of options and opportunities for our participants. So job fair is another tool in our toolbox.
Okay, thank you. I want to go into Silver Core now for a moment.
Okay.
According to NYC Aging's website, one of the eligibility requirements is to currently be unemployed or underemployed. How does NYC Aging determine that someone is underemployed?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really somebody who, you know, sees themselves as underemployed and is looking to you know, upskill and step into a different range of employment options.
So would you classify underemployment according to that definition by, one, not making enough money or not having enough hours?
Yeah, most commonly we see in the underemployed cohort people that are doing seasonal work, for example, and are making low wages.
Okay, thank you. And then, forgive me if you mentioned this before, but do you know how many New Yorkers have joined Silver Corps this year?
Yes. Just going back to that number. So in the current year, so far, 65 participants have joined. As mentioned, it's a new program, and we're looking to scale
To
this
grow.
going forward.
Okay. Do you know, are you able to disaggregate that by all the demographic information, age, gender, borough of residence, disability status, race, ethnicity, et cetera?
We'd have to get back to you. The numbers that I shared with you are generalized.
Okay.
And not disaggregated by each program type.
And I know I asked a similar question before pertaining to another program, but how do you measure success for this program specifically? And are program participants generally seeking full-time employment?
So it's a new program. The grant itself and the funder, AmeriCorps, requires an evaluation component. So as mentioned, we're one of 2 demonstration programs in the nation. So this is really an opportunity to figure out what that evaluation and what those outcomes are,
Okay.
which is something we're working with them, as well as our data team and some outside academics to really figure out a robust evaluation component that transcends some of those outputs that we talked about before and informs, the movement of AmeriCorps seniors, as well as funding for the out years.
Where else is the program? Do you know the other location?
I think it's somewhere in upstate New York, I think.
Rochester.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So 2 in the country are both in New York State.
Yes.
Okay. I guess that means we're doing something right.
I think so.
Are Silver Corps participants paid?
So it depends. If you meet that threshold of 400% or below the poverty level, then yes, you receive a stipend. I mean, needless to say, we just talked about 125%. That's a very low income. Otherwise, they're not receiving a stipend. So it is that classic service to work model where you're volunteering, you're supporting nonprofits, and gaining skills and experience yourself. And for some people, I think it's important. We talk a lot about income, but when I think about older adult workforce, I also think about a second act, right? If you spend your life doing something administrative in an office, like maybe now you always wanted to help the homeless or work in a domestic violence shelter or whatever it is, to really feel that impact and sense of purpose.
Absolutely. I'm in my second career now, so
Okay.
when I go to schools, I tell people all the time, you can have more than one career. You don't have to settle into one thing and stay in that one thing forever.
And I will say, even though they also AmeriCorps provides the travel and meal reimbursement, which
And
is
what-
paid during training.
What's the amount of the stipend, do you know?
The amount of the stipend. Is 25.
$25 an hour?
Yes.
Thank you. And I asked this before. I have some questions repeat for each program.
Okay.
So for Silver Corps specifically, is just going back to that type of acceptance throughout the year? Is there a particular time? Can people join the program at any time throughout the year?
Yes, absolutely.
And currently, NYC Aging's budget includes $1.6 million in fiscal 2024 for Silver Corps, and $1.7 million in fiscal 2025. With no baseline funding for this program, how does NYC Aging plan to maintain the program and the older adults it serves? And will additional funding be added in a future financial plan? If so, how much and when?
So this is a federally funded grant. It's a 3-year AmeriCorps grant, which also includes a rollover. And, we had a wonderful initial meeting with AmeriCorps to look at our progress and receive fantastic feedback from them. And, we're certainly hopeful to work with them as a federal partner to continue to develop and scale and learn from this program to be a model throughout the country in terms of supporting older adults return to the workforce.
Thank you, and my apologies, Councilmember. I'd like to acknowledge that you've joined us, Councilmember Linda Lee. And now moving on to the Silver Stars program. How do eligible New Yorkers learn about the Silver Stars program? How are agencies made aware of Silver Stars? And can you describe the hiring process?
Yes. So you asked a few things. So hopefully
I can repeat them if you need me to later on.
So you'll tell me if I missed anything. The first that I recall that you said is how do the city agencies learn about the program? So that's continual outreach. So some of the things we do, we talked about the city job fairs. We have pushed in a number of times to the CFO meetings, the budget folks who are good people to get buy-in from and have understanding, and we certainly view this program as a wonderful cost savings for agencies, which certainly the finance and budget people understand. We shoot it from a number of different directions, if you will. So another key stakeholder are the human resources teams. So we're also always talking to them so they can spread the word within their own agencies. And then we talk to hiring managers, and another opportunity is through our cabinet for older New Yorkers. This is also a great opportunity to spread the word with our 23 partner agencies that are there, and then through New York City Talent as well. So there are a number of avenues for outreach, including word of mouth. So, for example, ACS, who has supported a number of Silver Stars, once you have the experience and how seamless it can be. So you have a project, you have to move, let's say, a number of procurement actions, like you can bring on retired procurement staff who at day one are pretty much ready to go. So that can be really enticing to moving some of the city work. If you can remind me of your other questions.
Yeah, can you describe the hiring process?
Yeah, so it goes through the city hiring process. So first, of course, do want to call out that this is part-time, project-based, and not meant to and cannot replace the work of city workers. So the hiring process looks pretty similar to the city hiring process. If you go on to CityShare, the city's hiring website, you'll see our Silver Star postings that should be delineated with Silver Star. You can even search and look at them. And then we work, so just to go back a step, we have a queue of retirees who are interested in coming back to work, who come from a variety of different backgrounds. And then we have the city agencies that we're working with. And unless it comes in a number of different ways. Like you might want very specifically procurement staff who know the work of agency X, and so that's exactly what you're looking for. And from there, you might work with your known retiree pool who can, work in and do a quick time-intensive job. Conversely, that may not exist, and it's really working with the queue to find that match. Ultimately, the the PARs have to be approved in the personal action requests have to be approved in the same way that any city job would be approved. And then the hiring and onboarding process does require the same administrative oversight and city oversight and partners that you would see with hiring any city employee.
I would assume that if people are coming out of city service and then trying to re-enter city service and going through that same process, there probably aren't many folks who are turned away from the program.
We haven't, I mean, once you've gotten to that step of like, now I've interviewed and we're a fit and I'm sending you, we've not had any particular problem processing the paperwork, but it is still subject to that process and some of those time frames, which frankly are slower than our other programs.
And how many New Yorkers has the Silver Stars program served this year?
So this year has been modest because of some of the challenges that the city's been experiencing. So this year, we've only served 8. However, we look forward to scaling up. We brought on a new director recently to help us really scale and grow this program.
How does that number compare to other years?
So it's pretty new program,
Yeah.
so there's not this history that you see with some of our other programs.
But it started this fiscal year?
No, it started in fiscal year 22. So there were 10 in 22, 49 in 23, and then as of November this year, we have 8.
What do you think you can attribute to the huge growth from 22 to 23? 10 to 49.
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of hard work and outreach has to be on both sides. So it is fundamentally a matching process unless, again, as the story I just said, like maybe there's somebody who retired that you know who's ready to go into the job. So that would be very clean and seamless and elegant. It doesn't typically work that way. So we need to keep recruiting participants, which we've done in some of the ways that we've talked about before. We've had some great effect from media. Local media that city retirees then learned about the program and they applied, and now we have them in our queue. And then on the other side, we're working with the agencies who we're always talking to through some of those mechanisms that we just walked through, HR, finance, and so on, to let them know that this program is a cost savings and an opportunity to address some of the city workforce needs and challenges sometimes. And then ultimately, it's a matching process. And so if they're in meeting those business needs, which could mean some upskilling and some creative thinking about how do we look at your skills. For example, if you're a retired teacher, we're not going to necessarily have teaching opportunities, but where could we leverage those skills, which are so many: public speaking and planning and classroom management. Where, for example, could those skills fit into the jobs we have?
Do you have fewer jobs available or fewer partners this fiscal year than you had last fiscal year?
We do have fewer jobs available than we did last fiscal year due to some of the challenges that the city has been experiencing.
It's all these budget cuts. That was a joke. Although it's a very serious joke. Please disaggregate New Yorkers served by age, gender, borough of residence, disability status, race, ethnicity. It's only 8 folks. Do you have?
So certainly we could get back to. I have the disaggregated data that I shared before.
Okay. Although I would be curious to know for the other years as well.
Say that one more time?
I would be curious to have those numbers for the other years as well,
Yes,
so.
absolutely. We'll get
Okay.
back to you, because I have broad patterns here. And certainly it might look different when you're talking about retired city employees. So we'll circle back.
Okay. At what rate do program participants secure employment? And apologies again, some of these questions are redundant. I'm going to ask them all for different programs.
So you're talking about Silver Stars?
Yes.
In general, what people are looking for with Silver Stars is part-time, project-based employment. So, and that's part of what can be attractive about it, is that you're not necessarily looking to secure permanent, full-time employment.
But even for those part-time, I mean, if the goal is to secure part-time, project-based employment, are 100% of participants securing that, or not quite?
No. It's not 100%.
Okay.
I don't have that right in front of me. We could certainly get back to. But again, it has to be, it really is like three legs, right? The participants, the jobs, and how they come together in terms of a goodness of fit.
Are they, if they were to secure that part-time project-based employment, do you know what type of reimbursement they're getting, or how much they're being paid for that? Is
Yeah.
it like a contract kind of based salary, or one-time fee, or?
So big picture, if you're 65 or under, you want to protect your city pension. So the annual cap is $35,000 a year. It is more expansive if you're over 65, which gives us more flexibility. It's unlike our other programs, it really has to do with the job and the city's funding availability for that job. So how that 35,000, let's just say they're 65 or under, maps to an hourly wage is hugely variable and set by the agency. And I will say, having seen and hired Silver Stars myself, it's typically a higher wage than, for example, the 25 an hour we talked about earlier.
You mentioned you have Silver Stars?
Yes.
I
have one now. Yes.
would love to have a Silver Star, and actually for the last 2 years, my office has been working with NYC Aging and trying to secure a Silver Star for my office. Do you know why I haven't been able to get one yet?
Yes. So thank you, and that sounds very, very frustrating, and certainly eager to work with you to figure out to address that and get somebody placed with you. So it really depends in terms of we're always happy to work with our elected officials and city agencies and employers in general in terms of Silver Stars to place positions, to place participants in needed positions. We have signed MOUs with a number of agencies, and we'll continue to work with you. As I mentioned,
Do you need an MOU from the city council? Is that the holdup?
We don't. We'll work with you, particularly offline, to understand exactly what type of work you need, and
Okay.
look at the pool that we have of Silver Stars and how to get the best match for you.
Okay.
As we talked about earlier, just to make it clear, they do go through the city hiring process, so that can take a little bit of time. But happy to talk to you after this meeting. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's been 2 years that we've been trying to get one, so
Okay.
I can't imagine it's just the city hiring process. But we'll figure it out, and hopefully, I don't want to say by the next hearing, but maybe before the end of the fiscal year, we can get one secured.
Absolutely. We
office.
can, we can talk to, we'll talk to you about what you need, which program makes the most sense, what participants we have.
Okay.
And work
Great.
actively to accelerate that.
And how often are eligible New Yorkers admitted to the program? Same question as before. Is there like a particular, they can come in at any time in the year, right?
We would be thrilled.
You take them year round.
Yes, absolutely. So always looking to spread the word, and I think it's great for retirees, again, for the reasons we talked about, whether it's the income, which is not insignificant, right? Particularly if you're over 65. And it's such a great benefit to the city agencies. And I think a lot of people sometimes are not prepared for retirement in the ways they think they are, which could mean a variety of things. It could be economic. City employees, unlike so many others, typically do have a pension, which is great. But even having a sense of purpose and challenge and social connection, or like you were sharing that second act, I always did procurement, but now I want to know what it's like to work directly with people and help people who are suffering and lift them. These are all opportunities for agencies and for city retirees to join Silver Stars.
NYC Aging's budget includes baseline funding of $406,520 for the Silver Star program. How much was actually spent in fiscal 2023, and how much has been spent thus far in fiscal 2024?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
NYC Aging's budget includes baseline funding of $406,520 for the Silver Star program. That's baseline funding. So do you know how much was actually spent in fiscal 2023 and how much has been spent thus far in fiscal 2024?
I'm a little thrown by the numbers you're citing. So this program operates based on funding from other city agencies. So if you want a Silver Star, that would include you, for example, Chair Hudson, then you're funding the line. So, for example, you could say, I want an hourly wage of X, and I'm capping it at $35,000 for the year. Those would be funding that we're receiving from you to deploy that Silver Star. So I'm happy to get back to you, but
okay, we'll double check and I'll see if I have an answer for you before we end here. Do you feel that you're meeting demand for the program with the current funding, and how much additional capacity is there if demand were to increase?
So, as I said, the funding works really differently than it does for foster grandparents, Silver Corps, CSAP.
So I guess based on the number of employer partners or city agency partners, or
we are working actively to increase the engagement from city agencies, which the metric, if you will, would be a job posting and a job placement, as well as to increase the number of participants that are coming into our programs. And you'll see us continue to champion and drive this work in order to increase the placements. There's always so much more to do in the workforce space with older adults, not only today, but certainly the Aging Committee knows that the shifting demographics and the rising aging population, and in the future, I think there'll be more and more need and interest for placement And we're also working very closely with the Office of Management and Budget to develop to develop our needs, and look forward to talking further with the City Council in the spring as we get more into the budget.
Okay, great. And I got a little bit more information. It seems like maybe this is staff funding, this baseline funding, but it's through,
Okay.
it's through FY '27.
So it's through. So we had we have had some vacancy in the program. We had. This is a very small staff, so I'm assuming, without seeing all the numbers, that includes fringe and what have you. So we were funding 2 FTEs, and right now we have 1 FTE. So it doesn't immediately tie to that number. So we
Okay.
can take it offline.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can follow
Yeah.
up with that. I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Mealy, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Councilmember Lee for some questions before I finish mine out. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. Sorry if you all went over this already, because I had questions more about the CSEP program, but I know I came in a bit late, so sorry, apologies about that. But the CSEP program, by the way, was super valuable when it was at KCS, and we had participants from the DIFTA CSEP program as well as NAPCA. But just out of curiosity, is there still that rule, and forgive me if my memory's fuzzy, but where if you have funding sources that are different, you can't have the participants be part of in the same location, is that correct? Because I remember we always had to distinguish between the DIFTA CSEP participants versus our NAPCA CSEP participants, and I just wanted to see if that was still the case.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense just in terms of like a funder perspective, which I know you're well acquainted, that they're usually looking for those lines of delineation and who's attached to which funding source, so you have those fiscal controls.
But is it that they can't be physically at the same location or part of the same program?
I mean, that I'm happy to get back to you.
Okay.
That doesn't immediately
Okay, just 'cause-
resonate.
Yeah, I think that was sort of a barrier for us in terms of placing them in different programs, because I believe that was the case where there was that actual, not just like in terms of the budget, but they physically had to be in different locations. So I just wanted to double check on that. And also, how many contracts does DIFTA currently have right now for the CSEP program? Like, how many placements do you have? Because I know that varies across different sites, and I just wanted to know how many, what the numbers were, because I remember at one point it decreased a bit, but then because I think maybe because of capacity issues on DIFTA side, a lot of the contracts were given up to different various other agencies to run that, and I just wanted to know, because at some point I think you guys were starting to take the numbers back, and so I wanted to see where it was at right now, which is a good thing, I think, but.
Right, absolutely. Looking, I mean, yes, we were talking earlier that we're currently at capacity in Manhattan, Brooklyn. We're very close to capacity in Queens and the Bronx. We have actually, and there have been disruptions. If we go back in time and talk about the pandemic, that was certainly very complicated and presented a number of challenges for CSEP as well as the foster grandparent program. But starting with fiscal year 22, what you'll see, looking at 22, 23, and 24, for CSEP in 22, we had 221 participants. In 23, and I feel like you're saying this, we go to 392, close to double, and then the fiscal year 24 data is as of end of November, and we're already at 300. So you see that you exactly
Across the city? Across the city? Sorry, for the.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, that's it for now, but yeah, thank you. Sorry, and if you, I'm sorry, one last thing. But I'm guessing you have a breakdown of where they're placed and how many are placed at each site, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can certainly get that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. So this is about Reserve. How do eligible New Yorkers learn about the program?
It's similar, when we're out there, feet on the
Talking
ground.
about everything.
Yes, exactly,
Okay.
and in general, every touch with people that come into contact with older adults, or best, perhaps, older adults themselves, is an opportunity for us to market our wonderful programs and bring more people in.
Are participants allowed to receive a pension while participating in Reserve?
Yes.
Okay. And how many participants do you have this year?
Currently, same timeline, fiscal year '24, end of November, we're currently at 140. And I do want to highlight, similar to the pattern we talked about with CSAP, you see that climbing. Fiscal year '22, we're at 97. Fiscal year '23, 146. And then here we are, only partially through the year at 140. And I also want to clarify that, unlike Silver Stars, and appreciate that there are things that sound and feel similar, most notably that they're typically placed in city agencies.
Yeah.
The reservists are more retirees who are not previous city employees.
Okay.
So, I mean, they might have a pension, but it doesn't look like Silver
It's not
Stars.
necessarily a city pension that you
Exactly.
all are aware of,
Yep.
so, okay. That makes sense, thank you. And similarly to the other questions, are you able to disaggregate those participants by all the demographic data?
We'll get back to you. I have,
Sure.
it's aggregated.
No problem.
Yeah.
And then at what rate do program participants secure employment?
So this has, a lot of similar features to Silver Stars, in that these are,
Part-time?
yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And in fact, I think in particular with Reserve, I mean, you are seeing differences across the programs. These are people that, I mean, we see, retired accountants and professionals coming in who want to be part of the workforce and have that connection and sense of purpose. And we have a number. New York City Aging is one example. I mean, I think the city has so valued this talent and infusion of multi-generational experience into the workplace, and the reservists, are happy to add their experience and skills to contribute.
Do you track employment status of program participants? Or just through general success and participation in the program? How many people are being placed? How long they're being placed? And I guess because of the part-time nature, is someone going to an agency, working part-time, and then, finishing a project, for example, and then coming back into the program and then getting placed somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a mix. We do have that data and could get back to. Sometimes you see reservists staying quite a while. And I mean, I work very closely with a number of reservists, I mean, who have been there a long time, and add so much to the work and to the environment, and it's certainly a win for everybody. But again, the particular data, we're happy to get back to you about those trends and timelines that you're asking.
Okay, and then similarly to other questions, how do you measure success of this program?
Placement is the key metric. And then the key metric is really placement, although I do think it's important to, to some degree, to look at length of placement to make sure that we're driving that good fit that we're looking towards, in that the employer's happy, the participant's happy, we've made the right match.
And similarly to before, are participants able to join the program at any time in the year?
Yes.
Okay. And then my last couple of questions pertaining to the foster grandparent program. How many, can you tell me about the participation rate there? How many folks you have participating annually for the last 3? Usually you give me fiscal 22, 23, 24, if you have that for this program as well.
Yes. I'll do it the same way. So in fiscal year 22, 236, 23, 198, 24 through end of November, 186.
Okay, not huge drop off, but some drop off from 22 to 23. Can you attribute that to anything in particular?
Yes. So because of the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as some of the requirements from our funder and public safety and health and what have you, we pivoted all of the foster grandparent placements virtually. Which really had a mixed result. We certainly had drop-off in participants who didn't want to work virtually. I mean, one of the key drivers of interest of this program is shaping the life of a very young child. They often work like as a teacher's aide in Head Start, early childhood settings. So, challenging. Obviously, it feels really different to the participant to pivot something like that online, and we had to really reshape the work. Conversely, some of the folks that we upskilled and gave them the tech training and move into those type of placements, when we went back to requiring that it had to be in person, we had a drop off of some of that cohort. So
Naturally.
it really is, you're seeing some of that effect. However, looking specifically at fiscal year 24 and where we are right now, you see that rebound
Climb,
that we're
yeah.
looking forward to.
And you'll be able to follow up with the disaggregated data?
Yes.
Was the in-person participation a federal requirement?
The move to virtual placement during the pandemic was a federal requirement. In terms of the move back to in-person, yes. It's also just beyond a federal requirements in nature of the program. And the data, which is super interesting to me that we look at, it's different than everything else we talked about when you asked a few times about how do we measure success.
Yeah.
So interestingly, in this program, there's very explicitly 2 clients, and one of them is that child. So we're looking at things like reading attainment and early childhood skill development, and we see pretty incredible impact that our older adults have on the educational as well as social, emotional well-being of these young children.
And how many youth have been engaged through the program? The same numbers, equal numbers?
It typically is, but I'd have to get back to you with that level of precision, because there might be some, to your question, when you start, or if you have to be shifted to another kid, and it's not all school-based. Most of it is in early childhood, but there are some other placements, which include, for example, hospitals. So we could get back to you.
And how are youth in that program selected to participate in the program?
We work directly, again, the vast majority of these Head Start programs, so these are youth who have IEPs typically, or have some need for an increased level of support in that early childhood setting. We work with the school officials and teachers to identify those opportunities in the youth that are the right fit.
Okay, thank you. Those are all of my questions. Councilmember Lee, you have any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your testimony and your participation. I think, overall, we want to make sure that older adults are able to re-enter the workforce, should they so choose to re-enter the workforce, though it's usually, unfortunately, you know, the circumstances force them sort of back into the workforce. And so, you know, I hope that we can together do more to ensure that older adults are being taken care of and don't feel that they have to enter or re-enter the workforce, you know, in their second act, if you will. But we appreciate all the work that you all do to support older adults in their second act. I think we only have two folks in person to testify, so would love it if you can hang out for just a few more minutes, but understand if you have to get back.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and talk about the important programs and older adult workforce.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Associate Commissioner. At this time, we will be moving to public testimony. Each person testifying will have 2 minutes. We will have two folks so far in person. If there's anyone in the room who wishes to testify, please make sure that you fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms. We're going to be calling up Jeremy Kaplan and Andrea Tan, please.
No problem. Thank you. You want to keep it?
Yeah, I'll take them.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I think they have more than one for this one, but probably one for this one.
Yeah, okay, so you take that one, I'll get it. Okay, thanks. Okay, and whenever you're ready, we can start with Jeremy, please.
Thank you, Chair Hudson and Council Member Lee, for having us today. My name is Jeremy Kaplan. I serve as Executive Director of Encore Community Services, one of the city's largest nonprofits whose only focus is on improving the lives of older adults by offering them access to healthy food choices and services to age and thrive in community for as long as possible. Encore wholeheartedly supports investment in workforce for older adults, and especially with sweeping 15% budget cuts to NYC Aging, it's going to be more needed than ever, because just to scrape by, people are going to need jobs in order to, despite wanting to enjoy their retirements, as you said earlier. Aging services are facing a multifaceted financial crisis. Reimbursement rates fall far behind inflation and as our operating costs drastically increase. We continue to face staffing challenges as pay for human service workers remains impossibly low. Against all odds, and despite being amongst the lowest paid of any sector in the city, human service employees continue to deliver nutrition and vital socialization services for older adults. Yet, the city continues to turn a blind eye to the cry of tens of thousands of essential workers who have begged the city just to pay them an equitable cost of living adjustment. Our city has made commitments to older neighbors, particularly through the NYC Aging Community Care Plan. Now, despite the fact that increasing access to food and community care for older adults was a fundamental campaign promise made by the majority of our elected officials, with these indiscriminate budget cuts, the government of the City of New York seems to be considering denying older adults access to these services. To be clear, we understand that sometimes budget cuts are unavoidable, but equal cuts are not equitable cuts. And to propose a sweeping 15% cut indiscriminately and universally is not fiscally savvy management, but it is fiscal irresponsibility.
Please continue. Yeah.
Thank you. Older adults, especially those who face isolation and high nutritional risk, need more community care support, not less. Community care is the fundamental service provided by older adult centers, which is at most immediate risk with this sweeping budget cut. The population of older adults in our city is the fastest growing demographic. Just this year, the Surgeon General declared loneliness an epidemic, shining a light on the needs for socially isolated older adults. This is a population in desperate need of support and connection, and for whom a reduction of services would cause significant harm. The additional 5% cut planned in January would be detrimental to the continued running of older adult center community care programs. The city has an obligation to carefully evaluate the budget and surgically implement reductions. Anything less will result in a disaster to human service providers and, more importantly, cause harm to the older adults who built this city. Human service organizations like Encore touch every aspect of daily life, from public education, health and nutrition, and cultural enrichment to language access. We call on the city to partner with the nonprofit sector to work towards creative solutions. The human services sector cannot withstand a 15% cut to its budget. Any additional cuts will undermine public safety, health, and cleanliness of New York City. I urge this committee to refuse the indiscriminate cuts proposed by the administration and to advance a budget that balances fiscal responsibility with care and compassion to older adults that rely on us for nutrition, enrichment, and support as we age. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate that.
Good morning, Chair Hudson, Councilmember Lee, and Committee Council. My name is Andrea Tan, pronouns she, her. I am the Microenterprise Project Director at Volunteers of Legal Service. We're also called VOLS. We are a legal services nonprofit founded in 1984. Our mission is to bridge the justice gap in underserved communities through increased pro bono legal services. Our project, spanning 2 decades, supports small business owners with free legal services, aiding in forming businesses, drafting contracts, and handling other transactional legal needs. We collaborate with community organizations prioritizing minority, women, immigrant, and veteran-owned businesses. Our goal is to empower entrepreneurs for financial stability and independence. VOLS is dedicated to addressing the legal needs of older adults through targeted initiatives. The Microenterprise Project assists Encore entrepreneurs in formalizing their businesses, ensuring compliance, and protecting personal and business assets to mitigate legal risks. Concurrently, the Senior Law Project aids New Yorkers aged 60 and over in creating essential life planning documents. Together, these projects deliver comprehensive advocacy for our older adult clients. This year, a significant portion of our clients, over 1/3, were aged 50 and above. They were seeking legal assistance for their new established businesses. Allow me to share inspiring stories of some Encore entrepreneurs that we've supported the past year. We guided a 54-year-old Bronx entrepreneur in safeguarding her sweet tea trade secrets and registering her trademark. For 2 cousins in their 60s embarking on a traditional Caribbean food catering business, we're currently drafting their partnership agreement. And in Harlem, we assisted a 64-year-old entrepreneur in launching his pottery making business. And remarkably, we are advising a 90-year-old inventor on patent-related inquiries for one of his inventions. So these diverse examples underscore the breadth.
You can continue, please.
Thank you. These diverse examples underscore the breadth and impact of our support for entrepreneurs of all ages. In our engagement with Encore entrepreneurs, we've recognized 2 distinct client profiles: those opting to postpone retirement or re-enter the workforce post-retirement, driven either by financial necessity or a desire to stay professionally active. Many discovered that starting their own businesses is the most viable path, considering the challenges older adults often face in securing traditional employment. Their wealth of life skills and experience uniquely positions them as exceptional entrepreneurs. Despite this, accessing technical and legal assistance can be challenging and expensive for older adults. At VOLS, we bridge this gap by not only providing top-notch free legal services facilitated by our network of pro bono volunteers, but also by adopting a client-centric approach where we prioritize individual needs, including language access and overall accessibility, ensuring our support is tailored to each entrepreneur's unique journey. And finally, drawing from our experience, VOLS believes that the proposed bills in this resolution will be beneficial for our clients. The introduction of a focus program providing education and training customized for individuals age 50 and above, managing transition from current employment, retirement, or other life statuses to becoming anchor entrepreneurs is expected to enhance opportunities for our clients. And by encouraging individuals to explore entrepreneurship, these initiatives not only promote economic self-sufficiency, but also contribute to stimulating the local economy. So thank you for accepting our testimony and supporting New York City's anchor entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you for your work.
Thank you very much to this in-person panel. Please, just to plug to submit written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. You can do so up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing. Thank you very much. We are now going to move to virtual panelists. I'm going to call names, and the Zoom panelists will have 2 minutes to testify after the Sergeant-at-Arms calls time. And so at this time, I'm going to call Christian Gonzalez Rivera. Please wait for the Sergeant-at-Arms to call time before you begin your testimony.
Starting time.
And Christian is not currently present on Zoom, so at this time, if there's anyone who's wishing to testify virtually and your name has not been called, please use the Zoom raise hand function to indicate that you would like to testify. Seeing no hands, turning it back to the chair for closing remarks.
Thank you so much again for everyone's testimony. I think it goes without saying that we need to do more for our older adults, you know, whether it's by way of our city budget or the programs and services that are afforded to them, or overall how we provide supports or don't provide supports to ensure that everybody can age with dignity and economic security and everything that they need. We all need to just be doing a whole lot more across the city, across the state, and across this country. But one way that we are supporting and providing resources for older adults is through some of the workforce programs that we have at NYC Aging. So I thank NYC Aging for your work. I thank some of our providers and volunteer service organizations for their work as well in supporting our older adults. And thank you all for your time today. And I hereby announce this meeting as adjourned, or hearing as adjourned. Thank you.